In the heart of Detroit, where the skyline was a faded echo of its former glory, Tyrone Williams made his living in a world that thrived on secrecy and shadows. It wasn't a choice he had made willingly, but life in the city had a way of shaping people. The economy had collapsed, and his neighborhood, once proud, had become a battleground for survival. Unemployment ran rampant, schools had closed, and opportunities were few. But the streets, they always had a way of providing. Tyrone had started young. He'd grown up watching older brothers and cousins hustle, quick deals on the corner, fast cars, easy cash. At first, it seemed glamorous. But as he grew older, he realized that the glimmer of that world often concealed the real dangers. His brothers had gotten caught, some disappeared without a trace, while others were buried 6 feet under. Yet, Tyrone stayed in the game, driven by the need to survive, to protect his family, and to carve out a future in a place that seemed determined to strip everything away. He worked for a cartel based in Mexico, a network that stretched from Detroit to the southern border. They had a stronghold here, selling drugs, controlling neighborhoods, and maintaining a tight grip on the market. Tyrone wasn't a high-ranking member, not yet, but his loyalty and ambition had earned him respect. He ran product through the city, making deliveries, handling shipments, and ensuring the money always reached the right hands. His days were spent navigating the dark alleyways of Detroit's poorest neighborhoods. The hum of the city was always alive with the distant sounds of sirens, the crackling voices on his radio, and the constant beat of a life lived just outside the law. He met with dealers, dropped off bags of powder, and watched over the streets with a calculating eye. He was always on the move, blending in with the crowd, never staying in one place too long. But it wasn't all about the money. Tyrone had a vision for his life, something beyond the struggle. He dreamed of opening a barber shop, one that would serve his community. He imagined a place where young men could walk in, not just for a cut, but for advice, for mentorship, for a path out of the streets. That dream was a fire in his chest, but it was buried beneath the weight of his current life. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Tyrone received a call from his boss, Raphael, the leader of the cartel in Detroit. Raphael was a man Tyrone had never met face to face, but whose voice was familiar, cold, and commanding. "I need you to move a shipment tonight," Raphael said, the words clipped and urgent. "It's critical." Tyrone glanced out the window of his car, watching the streetlights flicker to life. "Where's it coming from?" he asked. "The docks. You pick it up at midnight. Don't make a mistake." The air outside was thick with tension, but Tyrone had done this countless times before. Still, the request felt different, darker somehow. The cargo was often loaded with small bags of product, but tonight, there was something about the urgency in Raphael's voice that made Tyrone uneasy. By midnight, he was at the docks, standing beneath the buzzing overhead lights that barely lit the maze of containers. The shipment had arrived, a large, unmarked crate filled with bricks wrapped in plastic. Tyrone had seen it all before, but as he loaded the crates into his van, a thought crossed his mind. What if this time was the one that went wrong? What if, in his pursuit of something better, he was already too deep in the game? As the van rumbled through the dark streets of Detroit, Tyrone's instincts went on high alert. Something was wrong. The air felt charged, and his skin prickled with unease. He was just a few blocks from his drop-off point when his headlights caught movement in the rearview mirror, a black SUV following closely behind. The moment he turned onto an abandoned street, the SUV pulled up beside him. Gunshots rang out, punctuating the silence of the night. Tyrone slammed on the gas, swerving the van to avoid the bullets, but he could feel the tension building in his chest. This wasn't just a random robbery. It was something more. He ducked, trying to shield himself, but a bullet tore through the side of the van, grazing his arm. With a heart pounding in his chest, Tyrone sped through the city, the SUV still on his tail. He could see the road ahead, the familiar streets of his neighborhood drawing closer, but the threat was too close, his escape was slipping away. His phone buzzed in his pocket. "Make the drop, Tyrone," Raphael's voice said, calm, detached. "You know what to do." The words hit him like a punch. It didn't matter if he was bleeding. It didn't matter if he was being hunted. The cartel's demand was clear, there was no room for failure. Tyrone knew what he had to do. He made the drop, unloaded the cargo into the hands of waiting dealers, and then disappeared into the shadows. The city of Detroit, with all its brokenness, had claimed another piece of him. He returned to his apartment, his arm throbbing, his mind racing with questions. He knew the game, knew how to play it, but the cost was rising every day. That night, lying awake in his bed, Tyrone stared at the ceiling. His dreams of a barbershop, of something better, seemed more distant than ever. His loyalty to the cartel, the dangerous world he was entrenched in, threatened to consume him. But Tyrone had always been a survivor. The question was, for how long?